Well, let's talk to Murray Hebert, a Senior Associate of the Southeast Asia Programme at the Centre for Strategic and International Studies. Thank you so much for joining us. We're seeing a month on now and still the protests continue and the bloodshed continues. What's your understanding of the situation on the ground with the fact that children are now being killed?
Yeah, I don't know if the children were targeted or if they were, bystanders watching this. We don't quite know yet, but it is obviously terribly shocking. But as your correspondent Jonathan had said, the military is, I guess, fed up with the population rebelling and rising up and trying to take control of neighborhoods, as Jonathan said, not going to work. A lot of civil servants are staying out of work, and the military is hell-bent to try to find ways to crush this uprising.
And we're seeing people write their blood groups on their arms, their contact details on their arms, because they're concerned about what will happen to them when they go out on the streets. How does the international community get a grip on what is happening on Myanmar? We know that sanctions simply do not work.
It's terribly hard. The UK government is calling for the UN to meet on Friday again, which is done a couple of times already. You're right. Sanctions are not seemingly working. The US has imposed sanctions against about a dozen of the top generals. It's sanctioned a few military companies. The EU is considering sanctions. But a lot of the world, China, Myanmar's neighbors, Thailand, Singapore, are opposed to sanctions. So that's not going to work. I don't know what we can do other than just keep calling out. It sounds really feeble, but I don't know what we can do other than just call out what's happening and try to urge some semblance of sanity in Yangon and Naypyidaw.
This call for the potential sanctions, these generals are already under some form of sanctions since the 2018 Rohingya crisis. So it just feels that any form of extra sanctions will not cut through. So we're hearing the amount of people that are contacting the people via social media, and yet continuously the internet gets blocked in Myanmar by the regime there. What, in your view, how is the best way to keep the momentum going in terms of getting the voices of the people in Myanmar out?
Yeah, but they are looking for alternative ways to communicate. It's very interesting that they find ways to get their message out, even when the internet is blocked. They find ways to talk to each other. They send more cryptic messages to each other, meet at a certain street corner, and people arrive there at 6 a.m. They don't quite know what's expected. I think it's going to be very hard for the government to stop all communication with the outside world, because it also impacts the business climate and the business environment. So it wants investors, it wants the business community, especially during this time of recovering from COVID, to be able to do its work. And if they shut it all down, not only do they shut down the protests, but they'll try to shut down the protests, but they affect their everyday business activities as well.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Murray Hebert, we've got to leave it there from the Centre for Strategic and International Studies. Thank you.
Thank you.